So, what is the subconscious mind? The subconscious mind is the part of you, the brain, that still operates below the conscious awareness, right? The experience that you live in, the memories that you've gone through, right? The parts of you that you're not quite conscious of, right? And what do I mean by healing the subconscious mind, right? Because the subconscious mind, it can truly be the driving force into how you live and how it dictates your lives today, right? One of the factors that affects your subconscious mind, again, we talk about how the experiences and how childhood affects our subconscious mind, affects how we live our life in an unconscious way, in a way that we are not aware of it, right? How does this happen, right? In order for the subconscious mind to actually be subconscious is when we repressed it, is when we buried it down, right? And because we're unconscious of it, right? We're not conscious. Anything that we're aware of, anything that we're conscious of it, we're intentional with it, right? We want to do it, right? But if it's the subconscious mind, why do I want to heal the subconscious mind? Meaning you click this video because you want to find out about how your subconscious mind is ruining your life, right? And the subconscious mind is truly affected by the experience that we live in. And one of them is actually through childhood, right? Our childhood dictates how we live our life today. Our childhood affects our subconscious mind today. How? Right? Because our childhood, when we're a child, when we're younger, right? We are, well, I mean right now as well, but just think about when we're infants, right? When we are a baby, right? Going through the years, toddler, and then, going through child, teen, or what is it? And then adolescence, right? In between that, like if you think about your childhood, right? You think about a part of you that is 8 years old, right? When you were younger, 8 years old, 7, 10, right? Think of those moments, because the child within us, we emotionally depend on our caregivers, right? Our parents, our father, our mother, or if you're taken care of by your grandma or your grandpa or your uncle or your auntie, we are emotionally dependent on them, right? And because we're emotionally dependent on them, we reflect the qualities that how we are, we identify who we are by the reflection of how they perceive us as, right? If you think of a pawn, just picture a pawn real quick, right? If you think of a pawn, like in a cartoon, when the protagonist, when one of the characters look at the pawn, they see a reflection of themselves. They see their own, like the pawn is some kind of like a mirror, right, to themselves. Now think of that as childhood. Think of the pawn as your parents. How your parents how you perceive yourself, how you identify yourself is by the viewpoints, is by the perspective of the feedback that you get from your parents, from your caregivers, right? And that truly affects our childhood, right? If our parents abandon us, if our parents get separated or get divorced, right? We feel unsafe. The child within us, right? When we were younger, we didn't want our parents to divorce or separate, but when they did, right, we feel unsafe, or the process of doing it, we feel unsafe, and we feel abandoned. We feel that we're separated from their love, right? And so how does it affect who we are today? In any of the things we are attached to, in anything that we're in relation with, let's say your partner, let's say you're with a girlfriend, right? You're in a relationship with them, you're in a relation with them. When there's some sort of conflict, or when there's some sort of yeah, when there's some sort of discussion or conflict that can lead into both of you breaking up or both of you ending the relationship, you will feel unsafe. You will feel like that conflict or whatever argument or whatever those minor things that both of you and your partner, you and the feminine, like conflicted about, argued about, you feel unsafe because you're scared that that person will abandon you eventually, right? And those can lead into self-sabotage, right? When you have that fear of them abandoning you, when you have that fear of them leaving you like your parents did, separated, divorce, you will do everything you can to prevent that from happening. And because you're still operating as a boy, you're still in this immature mode, right? Because when you're in a conflict, you're in the immature mode, which is equivalent to your sympathetic mode. You're in a flight, freeze, or fawn mode. When you're in that mode, what you're gonna do is that your nervous system is gonna go listen to the inner boy within, because you're still operating as a wounded boy from your separated or divorced parents. And then that wounded boy is gonna control your nervous system to tell you to protect you from that threat of your partner leaving you or your partner abandoning you from there, right? Because you're scared that if that happens, you're not gonna earn love. So what will the wounded inner boy do within? The wounded inner boy within will create a defense mechanism, will protect you from that threat happening. And one of the examples of protecting itself from that threat is by having this ifs, which is your internal family system. It's some kind of like psychological thing, something to do with therapy and counseling. But if I were just to simplify it, it's basically a part of you that is trying to protect yourself, either by numbing yourself or either by doing this attachment problems, right? When you're scared that your partner is going to abandon you, you have the anxious attachment. I can't pronounce anxious for some reason. You have the anxious attachment to the person. If the person pulls away, you will be so scared, right? And you will do everything that you can in order for that not to happen, right? And because the inner boy within is immature, the younger self of yourself cannot process any emotions of that, right? It's not able to be matured into knowing what adult emotions are like. So what the inner boy within will do as a baby, if you don't know how to do certain thing, if you have emotions just all crumbled up together, you will cry, or you will rage, you will exert, or you will be full of fury, right? You will be full of anger, right? And when you bring that emotion that is not matured yet into adulthood, one of the example that you will do with that partner when you're in a conflict is you will withdraw, or you will shut down, right? Because you want to get away from that feeling of being exposed. You want to get away from that feeling of having your emotions not being met. That's why the inner child within, the boy within, is basically your subconscious mind that has this like woundedness with it, that have this unmet childhood needs that needs to be nourished in adulthood, or else it will sabotage your life and you will not live a fulfilling life. Just to continue on the ifs, right? In adulthood, there are parts of us, which is the protectors and also the exiles, right? Now, for the protectors, we can also go more in depth on. There's two protectors, which is the managers and firefighters. It's just some term that is made up from the book The Body Keeps Score, right? I read that book and then I learned about exiles and protectors, right? And those protectors have like a more there are two types of protectors, managers and firefighters, but I'm just gonna keep it simplified here, and I'm not gonna gonna give you some load on your head, on the brain. So exiles, right? Exiles are basically just the wounded parts of us, the parts of us that created these false beliefs, right? These false beliefs of, let's say, your parents are divorced or your parents are separated, right? Again, this depends on your story, because whatever your story is, we can relate and we can uncover the root cause of the problem that you're having today from the old story that you have. Now, the exiles, right? Exiles, if you look it up, what's the meaning of exiles, right? It's being banished away from something, from a place, being isolated, right? Being buried. The exiles, right? EXILES, is basically the buried parts of ourselves that we keep it hidden. Basically, if we call it in Carl Jung, is basically the shadow, right? The unconscious shadow. Exiles are some sort of the subset of our shadow, right? Because our shadow can be creativity, can be playful, it can be also like a positive side of shadow. But this, what I'm talking here, exiles are basically the negative connotation, anything to do with the anything associated with the negative side, right? Let's say you your father or your mother separated and they divorced. What do you feel, right? The inner child within have these exiles, the parts that feels unlovable, right? So let's say your parents divorced when you were 8 years old or when you were 10 years old. That feeling of when you were 10 years old, the woundedness is called your exile, which is the parts of yourself, right? Which is the dangerous part of yourself that you don't want to show to anyone. You don't want to be vulnerable about it. You want to keep it hidden within you. I mean, you don't want to keep it hidden within you, but because the immature boy, the inner child, thinks it's some sort of a threat, if you get any near to it, your body will automatically keep it hidden, buried within the parts of you, not even in your heart, right? Because if it's in your heart, you will still be a bit subconscious or a bit conscious of it, right? But this is buried deep inside your body. We don't know where, right? We don't know where it is deep inside our body. That's why we have to unlock it by somatic awareness, by meditation, by all those stuff, but again, if you want to learn more about somatic awareness and you want to learn more about unlocking emotional freedom in order for you to get rid of these hidden buried parts, link in the description below. I have basically a full-on guide, right? I'm creating a course on healing the inner child within. Now, that's the exiled part. We keep it buried within. And the protectors, right, is the one that will protect us from experiencing those exiled parts of us that is experienced in our day-to-day lives. Like, let's say you before, like I mentioned, you are in a conflict with someone, with your partner, and then you feel this need to be with them, because if you're abandoned by them, you feel that you won't earn love, right? When you feel this way, the protector is gonna ask you to withdraw or shut down. These protectors are built from your nervous system that is unregulated, because you're still operating as the boy within. You understand now, right? These ifs are basically the parts of us that can sabotage our day-to-day lives, that can sabotage who we are today, right? The exiles, the protectors part, right? If you withdraw from the conflict, or if you shut down from the conflict, what will it do to your relationship, right? It will ruin the relationship, right? And if you also have this relationship with your mother, with your father, if they're not separated yet, or with your siblings, right? You guys are not going to have this embodiment of love day to day. You guys will not have this compassion, this forgiveness into each other, because it's just arguments and shutting down, withdrawing, and just running away from conflict and just blaming on each other, right? Nothing is going to work. You're not going to become the hero that you want to lead, right? You're not going to have this emotional capacity in order for you to lead relationships, lead people, lead in yourself. That's why the next point that I want to talk about is, in order for you to actually fix this and actually heal your subconscious mind, is actually to heal yourself, right? I mean, from the title itself, it says heal your subconscious mind, right? If I were to be more practical, it would be to self-govern, to have self-leadership, Because when you have self-leadership, you're able to control the parts of you that is hidden. You're able to be aware of yourself. You're able to be aware of the buried parts of you that is exiled, right? That is banished from your conscious surface level, right? If you see the tip of the iceberg, if you know that picture, the tip of the iceberg is just the tip, is the conscious one, right? And in the bottom one, the depth, that's your exiles. Those are your exiles, right? And because you keep it buried, whenever you get close to any of that situation that feels like a threat, that feels like your parents are divorcing or your parents are going to leave you and separate with you, those unconscious, those things are being protected by the boy within, and it's going to go to your conscious. It's going to go up to your conscious levels, right? And in order for us to be conscious of that, we need to have the ability and learn as a man, as a hero, as a leader, as a safe, secure, grounded man, to self-govern ourselves, right? If you think about govern, what does it mean? To control, to have control of it, to have power, to have authority over it, right? To be able to adjust to the situation, to adapt to it, right? In order to stay regulated, to make your nervous system regulated because of it, right? So if you want to learn more about this, I have a community down below that you can join. I'm bringing in real authentic brothers that are healing on the same path as us, right? And I'm also creating a course. So check it out, link in the description below, comment down below, ask me any questions, subscribe, do all those stuff, and I'll see you in another one. Goodbye.